All right, welcome back, everybody, and we're so glad to have Coach Lawrence Cagigal with us here, our business development coach for One Team Professionals. And Coach Lawrence has a great insight into the cannabis industry, which has been a big deal over the last couple of years, specifically here in Oklahoma. So we're going to dig into that a little bit. And Coach Cagigal, it's good to have you joining us here today.
Thank you guys for having me. Much appreciated.
Yeah, so we've got a lot to talk about. And like I said, we don't want to really take everything on at one time, but let's kind of break down just a couple of things regarding the cannabis industry, because I know there's a lot of things that have changed even recently. But if you could, Lawrence, just kind of give us a brief overview of maybe kind of what's changed over the last 2 or 3 months, or kind of bring us up to date on some of the important issues of what's going on.
Sure. Today, we're going to talk about the merchant services, and to really do that justice for everyone that's out there, we want to kind of take a step back and highlight the bigger issues with cannabis is still Schedule 1, meaning it's federally illegal, but it's legal in Oklahoma if you're properly licensed. That brings up many challenges from them on a tax front that green growth helps people with. On a practical situation for dispensaries, whenever about 5 years into a state's having medical or recreational, everyone will be audited at some point. Their goal is to get through everyone within the 4th or 5th year. The feds don't like cash intense businesses, no matter the industry. They really don't like federally illegal cash intense businesses. So one of the best things that we do, and that I can always tell people what's the easiest thing I can do, I tell people, make your transactions as transparent as possible. The IRS people, they don't want to see, they don't want to, I use an example of a coin operated laundry or coin operated anything, car wash, whatever. Yeah. There's no transparency in that, and they get real antsy with it. So if everyone's going to be audited within 4 or 5 years, we tell people get a good bank account, and we're very lucky in Oklahoma to have the strong banking relationships that we do. Other states would kill to have access. Green Growth has people in 5 different banks in Oklahoma. The fees are low. They treat you like a regular business, and that's something that no other state has like that.
Let me ask you this real quick too. Sure. I'm sorry to interrupt, but let me ask you this too.
Sure.
So is there a difference, because it's legal in Oklahoma, but still illegal as the federal government looks at it?
Yes. And so everyone's a felon, or in their eyes, it can be that way. Now, if you're not allowed to cross state lines, even if you are a legal actor in Oklahoma, but it's making it difficult. You can't get a regular bank account. You have to pay a little bit extra. The banks have to take separate steps. We're technically money laundering because we're helping you get your money into and out of a bank, and it's federally illegal. I mentioned the bank stuff and the background on it because these are the challenges that everyone has in every small town of getting a bank account and having the ability for the patients to go into a dispensary and use something besides cash.
Right.
We give our clients about 20 to 25 pages of SOP, standard operating procedures, on how to operate above board in a cash only environment. And then we try to get them off cash as much as possible. So we're kind of back to that thing. Banking unlocks everything. It unlocks payroll. It unlocks being able to pay your taxes. It allows you to online, and the ability to pay vendors and for you to be paid online through business to business. This one is a very unique situation in the fact that it's not a cultivator selling to a dispensary and paying online through Treasury Service. It is the end user, the patient, going into a retail establishment and being able to use a debit card or a credit card just like any other business. So, and that's kind of a long story to get to that part of, and every small town has a dispensary. I was in lovely Kansas, Oklahoma this weekend, and they have a dispensary. It's probably a town of 400 people. They have one.
Wow.
So there's a myriad of reasons why to get off cash. No one would ever start a retail operation and go, you know what? I'm not going to take credit or debit card. I'm going to go put an ATM in the lobby. That is what they have to do right now. So this provides an ability for all of the team members to go to their friendly dispensary and say, hey, I noticed that you're operating in cash only. Can we help you with getting banked and getting you merchant services? Those are the two easiest things that'll help them in the long run.
Wow. So there's a tremendous opportunity again for our members to be able to raise their awareness, because somebody is going to know somebody that's in the dispensary business or the grow business or whatever's out there anymore. You can't go anywhere without knowing somebody almost in that business with all those available now in Oklahoma specifically.
Absolutely. So there's over 2,000 dispensaries in Oklahoma. Wow. In Missouri, there's going to be 192.
Wow.
So
are there?
This is a
pardon the pun, but is there a lot of weeding out that's going on? Are you seeing a lot of the dispensaries now kind of falling off because everybody thought that this was the new gold rush and everybody's going to jump into it and make a fortune? And then how's that process look?
Yeah, I get listings every day of people that are trying to exit the business because I'm not going to say that any wrong. It's a hyper competitive environment. If you didn't have the war chest to build up, they're having issues right now. So yeah, there's that number is the smaller mom and pop is kind of going away. There's some outside groups that are coming in, and then the next step will be a lot of mergers and some buyouts. And the worst case scenario is there's no bankruptcy for something federally illegal. So you don't get to declare bankruptcy. You have to have a receivership. So that's another one that we can assist with as well.
Right. And you guys specifically work with the legal side and the accounting side, which is so important in this business because, for the most part, the people that have gotten into this business haven't really had a background to do so. They've seen the opportunity, but really going through the proper steps in setting up a business and making sure that it is transparent in all areas has kind of been an oversight, I'm sure.
Yep, it's a challenge right now, and we're going to see a lot of that coming up. We help them with everything in between, and we strongly encourage people I tell them the first thing you need is get a strong attorney that knows cannabis and get a CPA that knows cannabis that didn't pivot into this. Our team is not, I always use to coin the term, my dad's a retired CPA, and ask him, hey, what would you do? It's like, this might as well be in hieroglyphics. No one's ever learned on it. No one's ever trained on it. The rules are obscure for a reason. So yeah, they don't make it easy, and you got to have it's a must to have good representation of the attorney. And then if you're smart, it's good to keep as much money as you can from the IRS so you can grow.
Right. I was watching something on one of the channels here last night, or a couple nights ago, in some places, and maybe it was in Colorado, for example, but that is a legal business, but it's still 60 to 80% that is taxed on the product, I guess, or the income. Is that correct? Does that sound right?
Yeah, a lot of the states have taken, I'll use California because that's an easy one to pick on with taxes. It's like they've never taken an economics class. There's a Laffer curve that charts as your taxes go up or lower, it kind of goes up like standard bell curve. You'll grow that business or economy, and when it's taxed too much, it goes down. So what's called the traditional market in California, the black market, is larger than the so-called legal market because they overtax it. It's overburdensome. The laws are too difficult. They basically force people to go back to being illegal because of the laws and the high taxes.
Yeah. Unfortunate situation too. So with all of the things that are going on, and you're seeing a lot of these kind of falling off, are you aware of, and obviously, I think you're a good resource to connect with through our one team process of uh, potential mergers and acquisitions in this particular business.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I coughed. You said there's going to be a lot of mergers coming up. Is that what your question was?
Yeah, you're our connection for those potential mergers and acquisitions that people are saying, hey, I need to get out of this. I need to bail out. What do I do? Is there a lot of these bigger companies are the ones that are going to survive, and so they're swallowing up, obviously, probably a lot of these smaller opportunities.
Yeah, from what I've been told in other markets, it's generally not larger gobbling up the smaller immediately. It's more of two middle groups that realize they need to combine to gain size. So there's a lot of that coming. We've seen some sales, and kind of our firm's background, we have boutique status, meaning the people that do the year-round tax strategy came from one of the big four accounting firms. We get tapped to do a lot of the so-called bigger groups, the multi-state operators that are merging, or we do a lot of due diligence. We do a lot of audits for the big companies going public. We help people with that, and you are absolutely correct. That's what's going to come next. It'll generally be with that. We have 9,000 commercial licenses in Oklahoma. That's more than any state in the country.
Wow.
The licenses themselves are not valuable, so you have to have a good branding. You have to own your assets. The more you have that, the more you're able to be bought. And either out of a, hey, I'm doing well, I want to exit at a good time, or in the worst case scenario, out of desperation, they don't need their, as of it stands right now, there is no cap on licensing. That may be coming in the future. We're hearing little rumors of that coming up with the capital. But yeah, you're absolutely correct. There's going to be mergers. There's going to be acquisitions. There's going to be people leaving, in good and bad, and they all need resources to go to.
So are you the resource for that, where you can kind of help them find out what may be a good fit, and do you get involved in the structuring of that with the CPA or the attorney that's involved with that?
Yeah, we help on, depends on what we get, who kind of utilizes us. It may be a due diligence, something, hey, I'm going to invest $7 million buying these 3 or 4 properties. Then they will bring us in to do the due diligence to give them, what is this actually worth? It's kind of a mini valuation, and also walking in and seeing, do they really, it says they got 3 HVAC units. Let's go, we physically go inspect those. So we've done this on like the national scale, meaning companies going public in Canada, we've done this for on, and we've done it once or twice here in Oklahoma for a due diligence on purchasing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's something that's really good to know. I mean, with all the changes coming about, and you know, the timeliness of all this, has the pandemic, has it affected this type of market like it has so many others, or has there been kind of a fallout because of that, or what do you see there?
It's a great question. In Oklahoma, it's mirrored what we've seen nationally. In Oklahoma, it was deemed an essential service, just like alcohol or alcohol stores. So the state is frankly staying afloat because of us right now, the cannabis industry. During the pandemic, sales went through the roof. We thought it was going to be more like I mean, you can't go anywhere. You can't do anything. You got some stimulus money. It sounds weird. It's almost the perfect time to do it.
Yeah.
So that's happened. And then we have seen there's just been some information released on that. The edibles or the gummy sales went through, because if you're in close quarters at home with kids or family members,
sure,
it's a more subtle way than to smell up the room, if you will.
Right. Yeah. Just a thought. I mean, everybody's had to adjust in different ways. And so I thought, well, that's probably, you know, something that really, like you say, could really boost the sales, because what are you going to do? You're sitting at home, you know, so over medicating, I guess.
Yep.
Anyway.
And one thing kind of following along with that, alcohol sales and alcohol consumption has gone down. This has come up, and that's following what happened in Colorado. Their craft brewery went like this when rec went up. So it's depending on which doctor you talk to, it's generally considered more healthy. You can't overdose on it. You can obviously overdose on alcohol. I'm not getting into that concept of it, but it has been shown to reduce alcohol consumption.
Right. Okay. So two things that we've talked about, I think are really key in this conversation. And one is the banking transparency and the use of the merchant card. And again, the process for that on what's good for our members to be aware of.
Yeah.
Can you just revisit that real quick?
Sure. I love the idea of the conversation of the mergers, what's going to happen next, which is everyone needs to know kind of that so they can hear about it and know that they have resources to go to you with, to come to us.
Yeah.
A more local one that literally anybody can is there's going to be a dispensary within 10 minutes of wherever everyone is located. So that's the one that's an immediate help. So, and there's nothing for them to say no to. They need to get a bank account. It's $2,000 cheaper than the other state to get one in Oklahoma.
All right.
So that's something they can immediately provide value to for their people. If they do nothing else, they get a bank account, and there's no referrals on that one. It's just here's the 5 banks that work, and I'm happy to help with people on that one.
All right.
The other one is the ability for them to, if given the choice in Oklahoma City and Tulsa, not so much in the rural markets, but there's been a lot of studies. If given the choice between the ATM, a cashless ATM, which is a debit card, or a credit card, it should reduce down 70% of the time. 70% of the transactions should be electronic versus cash.
Okay.
There's safety reasons, there's productivity reasons. There's a reason why Starbucks and McDonald's take a card and not cash only, because that line would be ridiculously long. So there's practical reasons from that aspect. There's safety reasons to do it. You're going to be faster getting people in and out of the store. It's a better experience for the customer, for the patient. It's taking this industry and moving into the 21st century. No one wants to operate that way. So it's safer for the community to not have cash on hand. Through our relationships, we've known a couple high profile robberies here, and they didn't disclose it personally, but we know a group in Oklahoma City that lost $100,000 in one robbery.
Wow.
They didn't have it in a bank, and they didn't have it electronically. So this provides the alternative for the ability for, and here's what we can kind of provide from a down in the weeds perspective. The groups that we would connect them to, we don't care who they go with. We prefer them to go with ours, but I tell people shop different merchant services. The grass is not always greener. We'll take the, I call it the Coke challenge any day, not the Pepsi challenge. My sister works for Coke, not Pepsi, so sorry. We'll take the Coke challenge every day of look at the options. This one's tried and true. The owner of it was a CPA at Deloitte LA office with one of our founding partners. So there's the trust factor. That's the only reason we give this out. So it gives them the ability to have an ATM in the store. It gives them the ability to, someone can call in and buy it online and they can pick it up. They have the ability to do a debit card or credit card in the store. And then if delivery is approved this year, which we don't know if it is or not yet, but if it is approved, every dispensary want to have this ability to do that. And they can they can take a mobile card reader, deliver it to the patient's home, swipe the card either before online, like we mentioned, or in person.
So is this something that the service provides the unit for the store, or the equipment, the digital readout equipment, or?
Yeah, there is some hardware and some monthly fees, just like if you had a convenience store debit card or merchant services. It's a little bit more expensive in this industry, but it's technically a gray area on the debit card and the credit card. The other way around that is all the banks the banks don't want cash delivered any more than we want to deliver it, meaning there's a chain of custody, if you will, from someone swiping their card at the dispensary and it goes directly to their bank account. The alternative is you have your money and you're making deposits, $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 a week in cash only. There is no chain of custody where that came from. Banks get that opens up to the cartels don't want people to have merchant services. The cartels want cash only. It's a great way to, even though it's illegal here, illegal funds entering the market, no one wants. It's not good for the industry. It's not good for us. Not good for anybody. So, and we tell people up front, it's kind of a gray area. But the alternative is, and I asked the bankers, that's why they get involved in this, would you rather have 100,000 show up in a black bag every Friday, or do you want it electronically delivered to you?
Right. Well, great information. Can you, as we kind of wrap up this session here of our practice session here today, can you give us kind of maybe a story of maybe, or an example of something that was pretty significant, maybe to you or to the client itself that kind of went through some of this?
For the merchant services specifically?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if a lot of people have expansion plans, and it's just like we talked about with a McDonald's or Starbucks, they can't grow to the scale and have the numbers that they have. They have to get people in and out of the store. As you scale up to different retail locations, there's a productivity loss in our teams. You have to count cash at the end of the day. You have to put it in a safe. We have a cash log. It's an old check register, if you will. And I had someone tell me, what is a check register? And I said, shut up, millennial.
Right.
There's a lot of redundancy. And we take our clients on our onboarding. We make them know, in 5 years, you get audited. These are things you'll look for. Do this all the time to be compliant and be above reproach. Long story short, it's a big pain in the rear to track cash properly in this industry. So we helped develop a team with one of our best clients. They have a cultivation, they processing, and they have a few retail stores. I'm not going to mention somebody, but enough where they did a feasibility study, and they have to pay a little bit for the service. So they understood that it's in any industry, you have to pay for stuff. Their feasibility study showed that at the time, those 7 stores, the amount of workload it was going to take off, and the increase in being able to put on, there's certain things you can advertise on weed maps. You can put on there an icon. I have the ability to take a credit card or debit card. We hopefully think that if a burglar was going to rob the store, they look at that to know, I'm going to try to get cash and product. If it's not on there, then they need to go to a different store. So we're hoping, we don't have any hard data on that one, but their reduction in time. And as you scale up, you have to have they're doing things where it allows them to do other things with that time and allows them to grow, where their competitors are still doing cash only for everything. They're going to fight just to keep their head above water, where this group is able to utilize their time and money better by having this and free up their retail to do other things at that time. So that was a long way to try to get what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's time management. Everybody's time is important, and we're looking at doing things, more practical, and ease and transparency is always good, regardless of what business you're in with that. So there's a lot that we can talk about and dig into, and we'll continue our series with this. Lawrence, you come back next time for another session here of Pros on Demand. And this has been very informative. And I think that having the resource of what you bring to the team here, and being able to help solve these problems from a legal perspective, and the accounting perspective, the banking perspective, and to really help these businesses that are going to be in business be successful, I think is just a tremendous asset and resource. So very thankful for that. I certainly appreciate your time today with that.
Very honored to be here. Thank you very much. I'm happy to help out whoever needs to go through the portal to access us. I'll be there to help them. And then my counterpart that will also help. You don't need to be an expert in it. You just need to make the connection. My team will jump in, and my expert will jump in.
Yeah,
so it's
absolutely.
Literally, hey, let me connect you to the professionals, and I'll either be personally helping them, or the owner of the firm will be doing it. He's a CPA that doesn't want to do CPA work, and he likes to do this. So he's knowledgeable. There's the trust factor with our firm, the partners, they've been together. It was one of our partners' friends, like I mentioned. So you generally don't get that in this industry, and you don't get that touch.
Right. Great opportunity. Well, we certainly appreciate that. If you're joining us live here, stay with us. We got a time for some discussion with Coach Cagigal coming up. Remember, our practice sessions are recorded and archived for highlights that are available anywhere, anytime, every time for all of our One Team members at oneteam.pro. Be sure to look for our weekly scouting reports, so log on at oneteam.pro to register and share with potential members about our upcoming practice session. Pros on Demand practice sessions are scheduled Monday through Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. And with that, we wrap up this practice session of Pros on Demand.